Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Having a Ball this week with more cancer and holes in me. Yay.
So it's just like a week like every other week?
Hey, I got more holes put in me this past couple of weeks than the previous weeks. It's not like I get holes added every week.
So there's been a lot of drive-bys in Neuchâtel lately?
Yes, that's it. I had a drive-by while I was in the hospital. Some hip-hop guys were angry with my latest single and came by and, yeah.
Are you the East Coast or West Coast? Considering there are no coasts in Switzerland.
Well, I guess my east ball disappeared. So I'm West Coast now, I guess.
I'm just still Dre.
You're still Dre, indeed.
Like back in the day.
Just so people know, we're recording this in the morning once again, which we don't do often and usually doesn't go well.
True.
And secondly, you, the man who never sleeps, you were actually asleep about 20 minutes ago.
I was. So my sleepy face, this face, is an actual sleepy face.
And for all of you listening just on the audio version, it's a sleepy face.
Anywho, let's do this. Let's fucking do this, shall we?
But yeah, as I said in the opening, there will be more cancer, sadly, in this episode. But as you can see, the good news is I'm no longer in the hospital right now, where we recorded the last episode a little over 2 weeks ago.
Unless they, redecorated your room to look exactly like your parents' living room.
Well, I guess you could have actually now used that blue curtain as a blue screen and just comped this all in.
If we all of a sudden hear a beep, 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 and some frumpy nurse saying, "Joey, you have to eat your pudding," then we know you're still in the hospital.
That's true. But no, I'm not. I didn't get out it was quite recently. I got out only about 3 days ago. After spending 20 days in the hospital. So it was another 10 after we last recorded the episode.
Yes, and this was a hospital visit that wasn't even planned originally.
No, exactly. I went because I had a little fever, and it ended up snowballing into something else. And last episode rather, I said, yeah, Monday I'm going to go get a little drain put in, and then I'll probably be out in about 3 or 4 days. And that's not what happened, once again. The writers of this show really don't know what they're doing.
I think it's a writer's strike. I think they're just anything that anyone in the crew comes up with. They're like, we're going for that.
That's about what it felt like these past couple of weeks. Because, yeah, as I said, I was supposed to go in on the Monday morning, so the next day from the recording, and have a drain put in by that Greek doctor we spoke about already.
Helen of Troy.
Exactly. Helen of Troy was supposed to put this drain in. To me, it was a simple procedure, supposed to just take place in radiology, meaning they use the ultrasound machine, look in to get to the right spot. So I was all ready for this on Monday morning. I had a guy come down and say, "Hi, we're ready for your transport. We're gonna bring you down to radiology," which I didn't really need transport, but they made me sit in a wheelchair and get wheeled down there by some dude. And then I sat on the bed like last time. I was ready for this. For the procedure, telling her how happy I was she was doing it again because I had felt nothing the last time. Then she spent about 20 seconds looking through the machine and said, "Yeah, I'm not going to do this today."
Because she had heard all the jokes I made about her in the last episode, right?
Exactly. She was pouting. She said, "No, not until that Norwegian dude apologizes."
To me and the country of Greece.
No, more seriously. So looking with the ultrasound machine, she saw that there was actually more liquid than expected, in more places than expected, and that it was turning to jelly, is how she put it.
Okay.
And so basically she said, there's not much I can do. I could pull it out of one pocket of stuff, but there would still be others, and I'm not going to do 5 different pockets. She said, you probably need surgery for this.
So these are what, to explain to our to the parts of our audience who don't have a medical degree. Are these new tumors or growths or what is it?
Not yet. There are new tumors, but this was just from the post-operative infection, basically. It's things that can happen after an operation. Liquid got in there, it infected, and was turning to jello or something and getting all over. But it's not new tumor. It's linked to the operation and linked to the cancer, but was just basically excess fluid around the lungs.
So this fluid that turns to jello or jelly, is it now too thick to drain? Is that the thing?
It was at that point, exactly. At least with her drain, the simple procedure she could do, she said it'll be too thick to drain. And anyway, she would have to go into various different spots, which isn't the idea because every time you make a hole, it's a new risk of infection. So she basically said, I think they're going to have to do this surgically. Bye-bye. And sent me upstairs.
Okay.
So then I went upstairs, and then they told me, we're going to have to do some tests. So I was taken down for an x-ray to really see what it looked like. And then I was taken for another scanner. And then I was sort of left to stew in my own jelly for the afternoon. Which wasn't great, because they sort of told me, you're probably going to be operated on, probably tomorrow. And then there wasn't any news immediately. And I was literally just in my room waiting. And I only found out at about dinner time when they came and said, oh, by the way, don't eat dinner because we want to have your stomach empty tomorrow. In case they decide to operate, they're not 100% sure when they will yet, but don't eat. So that was nice. So I didn't have dinner, and I sort of spent a night that wasn't great because I was wondering. It wasn't exactly, it's not like other operations when they told me you'll be operated tomorrow morning at 7. This time it was just like, it'll probably be tomorrow. We don't quite know yet. We'll let you know. And so I just waited and didn't have the best of nights, as one can sort of expect, I guess. At least I was still in my private room at this point because of the COVID scare, which I didn't have. They did test me. I didn't have COVID. And so then the next morning, the doctors came in, or the nurses rather, and told me, yeah, the doctors will be operating on you. It'll be somewhere near the end of the morning. Stay ready, which, I mean, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. I'm in a hospital lying in a bed. I'm about as ready as can be for an operation, especially with an empty belly. So then a few hours later, like 10, 11 in the morning, I think, they say it's time to go for this operation, where basically the idea was to go in through the same hole I already had that they made at the beginning of last month, to go in through there to get this jelly out and install a drain, but they also had to make another hole to go in with a camera so they could see what they're doing, and to install a second drain. Mm-hmm. So I get rolled down to the operating block, which is always kind of weird because it's a weird thing, being moved through a building, lying on your back, looking at the ceiling and into people's noses. I don't know. It doesn't happen very often.
It's a very common shot in the movies, though, like the point of view of a patient, and you.
Most definitely a common shot, but it doesn't actually, at least me, until last summer, it hadn't ever happened to me. And it does just feel weird being moved around, and you still feel fine at that point. Until they bring you down, and the anesthesiologists, which I've now noticed every time, always try to make a few jokes and have a laugh with you, explain very well what they're going to be doing, and they put the mask on, and then suddenly, boom, I fell asleep. I, again, do not remember even the point where he said, we're going to start the meds now. I remember him telling me, you're just on oxygen for the moment. Nothing's going to happen. Next thing I know, I'm waking up already, basically. And so now I'm waking up in this, in what they call the salle de réveil, the wake-up room. I don't know what it's called in French, in English, I mean, where you have sort of your own nurse making sure that everything's okay. So as soon as you open your eyes, she comes and talks to you. And I'm lying there in this room with now 2 tubes sticking out of my side that then connect. So it's like a Y sort of coming out. Mm-hmm. And they came and they gave me pretty much every kind of pain drug that exists, I think, in the next 10 minutes. That was kind of fun.
Even propofol?
No, I'm not going to have to cancel my 50 dates at the O2 yet, don't worry.
Funny reference.
Which I don't think anybody will get, but never mind. But anyways, they gave me various pain meds. They said, are you still in pain? I was like, well, yeah. They said, okay, we'll give you some more. And I started waking up slowly. Then they said, okay, I think you're about ready to go back up to your room. Do you want any more of the strong pain meds? Because once we go up, you won't have them anymore. So I said, yes, I guess so. And so this is when they gave me ketamine, which I think is actually like a horse tranquilizer too.
It is, yeah.
And a drug some people use for fun.
Apparently. And you were in no position to say nay.
Exactly. But it was kind of funny because all the other ones, I guess, took the pain away. And I was still a little bit woozy because I was waking up. But the ketamine, as soon as I took that, everything sort of got soft and it felt like I was falling into my bed. And it was a bit weird. That's when the doctor came by and said, you had ketamine. Are you seeing Smurfs everywhere now? Which I did tell him. I said, well, that's kind of a stupid question because you guys are all dressed in blue. But I guess I was a little high for a bit. Then they took me back up to my room and I was okay. They continued giving me some pain meds. And I had a pretty good night, surprisingly, considering I had just had my chest opened. So the next morning I woke up, and this is when I saw the doctors who came and explained that the operation went well. They were happy with what happened. It was done by a thoracic surgeon from Neuchâtel and actually a consulting or visiting thoracic surgeon from the SHUV, which is another big university hospital in Lausanne, Switzerland. So I don't know if he was just like walking by and said, "Oh, an operation. How about I give a hand?"
I think they usually do that in the hospitals. I've got nothing better to do. Scrub me up, sister.
But I guess, I mean, the more surgeons, the better, right?
Yes.
Although they do say too many cooks spoil the broth, so I don't know. But anyway, they seem to have known what they were doing. They were happy with the result. They said they got the liquid out. Bad news, though, was that the scan from the day before showed new stuff that hadn't appeared on the other ones. Basically, an inflamed nodule between my lungs and another one in my liver.
Yes.
So it doesn't necessarily mean a new tumor, especially the one between the lungs. Could just be a lymph node that's inflamed because of the operation. In the liver, though, that's bad news, and that means it is the cancer. And so basically they had to make very quick decisions, and the decision was, my oncologist came to see me, was I need new chemo. And like right away. Obviously you couldn't start it that day because you need a little bit of time to get over the operation. So this is on the Wednesday, and they decided, well, okay, we'll leave you 5 days to get over it. And on the Monday morning, I had to start new chemo. So it wasn't great news. Wasn't thrilling to hear, although I guess it was easier to take a little bit than last time because I at least know what chemo is this time.
Yeah.
So I knew what to expect, and I was told it's going to start Monday, and I was like, well, okay, at least it's not a huge surprise what was going to happen. And so then I had first like 4 or 5 days off just to recover, which was kind of weird because I had this drain coming out of me. So as I said, it's 2 tubes that then connected to a box, and in that box, that box was connected to the wall, which had oxygen suction. And you would see this box fill up with red juice slowly, which was always nice. And plus, I was allowed to go walk around. It was even recommended to get some exercise to get my lungs working. So I would just have to disconnect the box and walk around with this box. It was about the size of a small briefcase of juice. And you go down to the cafeteria and set down your box of juice next to them and say, "Hi, can I have a coffee?" It feels kind of weird. I did get a couple of people where, like, they see you in the elevator, they say hello, and then they sort of look at their feet, and next to their feet is my briefcase of juice. And you see them sort of go, "Ew, that's gross."
Is it called your juice box?
That's what I called it. I don't know what it's called in reality.
Okay.
And then I was lucky because the next day, so like 1 or 2 days after the operation, they took the first drain out because they look at what it's sucking. Basically, one of them was to get more air, and one of them was to get liquid. And very quickly they saw that it wasn't sucking much out anymore, so I didn't need it. So they pulled one drain out. So then I only had 1 tube, which is a little bit easier. And I got a smaller juice box, which is a better one. It was like battery powered, and I didn't have to plug it back in, and I could just gaily run around the hospital with my juice box, which was quite nice, I guess.
For a second, if people are coming into the episode now and they hear, "Yeah, I was on the tube and I had my juice box," then they would be like, what is this podcast about?
Yes, it's not about fruit juices in British public transport, that's for sure.
Well, someday.
And so then we're getting to the end of that week that I had the operation, It's Friday, and they decided to take out the second drain, basically to leave me free. And I have to note, I found it quite clever the way they take the drain out. It's really quick. Basically, just they say hold your breath, and someone pulls the tube out, and that's it.
With like a sound?
It doesn't even really make any noise. But the funny thing is, because then obviously they have to stitch up the hole. And actually, when the surgeon did the operation a couple of days before, he already puts the stitch in place. So you have two doctors, one pulls the tube out, and as soon as it's out, the other one just pulls the knot tight. And it takes about a second, and you're done.
Interesting.
So that was quite nice. And I had my two tubes off, and was basically free for the weekend. Except, so this is the Friday, going to start chemo on Monday, and then they suddenly said, oh yeah, but of course, you need a new PICC line, the thing I had in my arm last summer to give me the chemo.
Uh-huh.
And so I needed a new one installed. This thing right here, well, you can't really see it because it's patched up. But this thing, so on the Friday, they sent me down to the radiology again, which is where they do this. Exactly the same thing I did in July, I think it was, or August. And it was quite funny because I lay there and the doctor walks in and he says, okay, sir, let me explain the procedure. And it was actually the exact same doctor who's put it in 6 months ago. So I was like, no worries, sir, you've already done this to me. He's like, what? I said, yeah, I recognize the mask.
So we're doing here the cardinal sin of any sequel. We're just rehashing the same story from last time.
That's true. It went slightly different this time, though.
Yes.
So the guy explained to me, he said, basically, we're going to look at your arm with the ultrasound, find a vein, then I'll put the guide wire through, put the tube in, and you're good to go. So I told him all this. I said, I know that, no problem. He said it might be a bit more complicated because they used the same vein and it was perhaps damaged from last time, which it turned out to be because at one point he sort of got stuck and he had to look at stuff and it took a while. But the surprising thing is I fell asleep.
Nice. Isn't that nice?
It was absolutely nice for me. I was so relaxed and I knew it wasn't going to be painful. I guess I hadn't slept much the last few nights. And as he was doing it, I fell asleep and sort of woke up when he said, okay, you're good to go. So it really can't complain. And that's without, I mean, the only anesthetics I had was on the arm where they go in. Uh-huh. So yeah, that made it a little bit more enjoyable, I guess. It went by quickly, that's for sure.
So then you started chemo and you've done 1 week out of how many, 3?
That's what it'll be, exactly. Then I had the weekend off first. Still stayed at the hospital because they checked my blood levels and certain things because they wanted to make sure that I could start on the Monday.
Uh-huh.
And so Monday I started chemo, but not the same kind as last time. Last time, I don't know if you remember, it was a protocol called BEP.
Yes, BEP.
Exactly. Each of the letters representing a different one of the molecules they give you. This time it's something called TIP.
Okay.
And if I've got a tip for you, don't get cancer.
Duly noted.
The P in both of them is the same thing as something called cisplatin, which is made with platinum and whatever. But other than that, different protocol and slightly administered slightly differently. Last time it was 5 days of injections. And then basically I had to hydrate. And every Tuesday for the 2 weeks off, I came in for another injection. Mm-hmm. This time, 3 days of injections, 2 days of hydrations, and that's it. Then 2 weeks off.
Okay. So you have 2 weeks off because it's supposed to be rough on your body and you need that amount of rest, right?
Exactly. Basically, to let the body rest a bit. My doctor did say there are certain people who do this like even faster and you do 3 rounds really in a row, but he's not a big fan and it can be dangerous. And it wasn't needed yet at that point. But usually that's exactly it. They want your body to get back to normal so that it can do it.
Okay.
So I started on the Monday, and like last time, at least I know what to expect. They hook you up to Philippe, my good friend Philippe the machine, and even he had a friend this time, who I called Johnny. So I had 2 machines hooked up to me because they had to give several chemicals at once, and basically hooked up to that and lots of water as well. Because they want you, as we explained last time, to make sure the kidneys keep working. They want you to go to pee a lot. So lots of water. Both I had to drink a lot and got injected a lot.
To the point where you got nauseous?
No, I didn't get nauseous because of that, but to the point where you feel fat and heavy.
Yeah.
The Monday when I went in, because they also weigh you every morning. The Monday I started, I weighed something like 78 kilos. 24 hours later, I was a little over 4 kilos heavier.
That's a lot of water.
And that was just water, yeah. And I could feel it. I felt chubby. And again, like last year, I had to spend my time drinking and peeing and writing down how much I peed and being congratulated because I peed a lot, which is always nice.
So when you pee, do you like lift the bottles and they're like measurements and you can say whatever, blah, 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 and then write it down?
Exactly.
That sounds like a fun spare time activity.
It was a fun spare time. Then go do that in the bathroom, then empty it in the toilet, flush twice to make sure the chemicals get out in case someone else uses the bathroom.
Really?
My roommate. Yep. They suggested. I mean, it's not very risky, but I was told to flush twice just in case.
Okay.
And so yeah, lots and lots of peeing. They were happy because I'm what they called a collaborative patient. Mm-hmm. Normally, I could just pee in the bottle and say, "Hey, lady, take this," and they would go measure it.
Hey, lady.
I found kind of pointless, so I would just measure it out myself, write it out in the sheet, and every 12 hours they sort of look, oh, he's peed this much, we've given him this much liquid, he's at plus or minus so many milliliters.
Cool.
With the idea is to leave at about 0.
All right. So you've done 1 week out of 3. How was it?
Last time, I think the very first round, I had 0 side effects.
Uh-huh.
And sort of maybe after the second I can't remember exactly when, but after a few weeks, I started getting a little bit of acidity, heartburn, and belching quite a lot. This came a lot faster. It was already like on the Tuesday. The Tuesday, I had a little bit of nausea, I had a little bit of the belching. Didn't really feel very hungry. But luckily, they gave me some medication that I could have had last year, but I never needed. And that made it a little bit better. For about a day and a half, I didn't eat much. Then on the Wednesday, I had a visit from my brother. And I hadn't had lunch, and he was coming. And then suddenly, at that moment, I felt really hungry. And I wanted something fat and dribbly. So he brought me a huge fat sandwich, which was nice.
Nice.
I was told, follow your
Heart.
Follow your heart. Well, follow your wants, which is kind of that. They said when you're not hungry, if you suddenly are and want something particular, eat that because a better chance it'll go down.
Yeah.
And so the big fat sandwich was nice. I didn't feel like dinner again later, but oh well, at least I'd eaten something.
And now we're in the first of your 2 resting weeks.
Exactly.
How do you feel right now?
I've had right now I feel fine. I've still had those little side effects with the acidity for the past couple of days, but I've taken a pill every morning, and there's something I can take half an hour before eating that makes it go down. And so basically it's worked. I mean, I've eaten all my meals. I've been happy to eat a lot.
Okay.
And so I can't really complain, and I guess it's already getting better. And I figure the fact that I don't get new shots every Tuesday means it's just going to get better now. I'm not going to have them come back probably until the next chemo session, which I have to do in the hospital again. And that'll be from the 2nd to the 6th of March,
Yeah.
I believe.
All right.
I was able to do the last time as an outpatient, but this chemo is slightly different, and they want to be able to I think it's slightly stronger, and they want to be able to observe better and take blood more often, so it's going to be in the hospital for 5 days again. Right. And then I'll do a 3rd round 3 weeks after that. And then hopefully that'll be the end of the chemo, and then we can get to operating.
So the doctor's goal is that in an ideal world, this new chemo flushes out the new inflamed nodule. Does it also kill the liver thing, ideally?
That's the goal. That's the goal, exactly. And to then basically have my body ready so they can operate do the RPLND, which I've been wanting to do since the beginning of the year.
Yes.
The operation in my abdomen.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, hoping this chemo, I guess I'll do another scan at the end of it, which will be in about 8 weeks, so a little under 2 months. And then if I'm good to go, I would have an operation pretty quickly after. Again, possibly it doesn't work completely, and I also need an operation on the liver, possibly an operation between the lungs. Lots of operations are possible. Mm-hmm. But I'm continuing to do sort of the way I've said is 1 day at a time, basically. So one problem at a time. Yeah. So now I'm taking care of the chemo, and we'll think about operations at a later date.
All right.
One thing I didn't mention, because I spent 20 days in the hospital, which is a long time. And it's funny, you sort of get into a rhythm. It's a pain, but at the same time, everybody's nice. You sort of know everybody, and you start feeling at home, and you know the schedules, and I know when I can just go walk around, and I'd go down to the cafeteria. I knew all the cafeteria ladies. So part of it wasn't that horrible. The other funny thing is your neighbors, because most of the time in a room with a neighbor, and it's not always the most enjoyable thing. I think most people, when they're ill, would just rather be in a room by themselves.
Fair.
And I had quite a collection of different neighbors. I think we spoke about Darth Vader last week.
Yes.
And so then, exactly after my operation, I had a neighbor who was a friendly enough old man, except that he was very noisy. I mean, he would turn the TV on as soon as he woke up, which was like 5 a.m, and then start snoring over it.
That's annoying.
Yeah, I had to a couple of times actually call the nurses, which I felt stupid, but just calling them, and they were like, "What do you need?" I said, "Could you turn the TV off?"
Yeah.
Because I guess I could have like gotten up and tried to pry it out of his cold, dead hands, but the remote. But I figured, hey, there are people paid for that. I'll let them do it.
All right.
And he was kind of funny. I guess some people get that, where he seemed all right. And then as soon as he spoke to nurses, he took a little child's voice. As soon as there were nurses, I guess he wanted people to take care of him, which is fair enough, because he needed it. So I was with him for a week. Then I was moved around, because after the surgery, I was moved back up a floor for the chemo. And I had one neighbor who would have been the greatest neighbor, but I only had him for like 12 hours, where he said, "Hi, enjoy your meal, and then good night." And other than that, we didn't talk. We both had our earphones on and kept to ourselves, and it was brilliant.
It sounds great.
Then I had the third neighbor who didn't speak in English or French, which I thought would be rather a good point, because hey, if we can't speak together, we're gonna leave each other alone, which is all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
The thing is, he had gas problems.
So he farted all night long.
Well, that first night he definitely did. He quite a bit. And I mean, to the point where, I mean, what are you going to do? It's a hospital. The guy's having problems. I'm not going to get mad at him. So I first put my mask back on, even though you didn't have to wear a mask in the hospital. That only helped a little bit. Then I had some cream to put on my back, muscle cream, you know. Smells quite strongly. So I put some of that in my mustache, exactly like in Silence of the Lambs, when they don't want to smell a dead person.
Yes.
And that kind of helped. The nurse actually walked in at one point for something else. She walked in and sort of went, looked at the guy, looked at me and said, "I'll go get you something to take the smell away." And she sprayed it all over the room and then gave me the bottle, and that was heaven.
That is a stinky dilemma.
Then the end of the week, the last neighbor I had was a guy who never spoke to me at all. A younger guy, seemed pretty calm, never spoke to me at all. Never bothered me at all. So that's when I figured I must have been the pain in the ass neighbor at that point. The guy who kept getting up to go for coffee and turning on the light early in the morning and watching the Olympics at 5 or something.
So it's the old moral of the story: if you can't find the asshole in the room, you're the one.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, nice.
And I mean, if out of 5 neighbors, if I was only the jerk once, that's not too bad.
Maybe you were the jerk at all times.
That is possibly true. There might be another podcast some other sick person is doing right now where he's going on for hours about that asshole with the drains coming out of him, and he kept talking about his juice and leaving trails of it around the room.
And I tried to fart to cheer him up, and he didn't enjoy that. What kind of bastard is this guy? Who doesn't like a good fart joke?
So yeah, that might be the case.
Oh, well.
But I was happy after 20 days. I got out Friday, as I said, and had a nice weekend at my mom's place, which has been quite relaxing. I've had a lot of good food, and now feel pretty okay.
So they've given you the 2 weeks to rest up, but so far so good in terms of you. There's not a lot of side effects yet, so you're feeling pretty good.
I mean, I think the side effects I had, I'm fingers crossed, touch wood, were the worst, and they're getting better. Right now, I've got a little bit of tiny bit of the metallic taste in my mouth. I'll probably take a pill before lunch will help, but it's really, really pretty low key, yeah.
If you think back to the time of your life, the 39 years-ish where you didn't have cancer, would you say, what the fuck is this about the side effects you're feeling now, but you're so used to it?
If I had it for 3 days, I would think it was weird, yeah.
Okay.
I'd be like, what? This is something weird. If it was just what I'm feeling right now, I would think, maybe something I ate last night didn't quite sit well. And I wouldn't worry about it right now.
Okay.
And I've already gone back into the hospital yesterday just to give blood because they've got to make sure my white cell count, blood cell counts are up, and they were happy with that, or they were high enough, I guess. Mm-hmm. So now it's really just 2 weeks of waiting.
All right.
Luckily, I have something fun to do during the 2 weeks of waiting.
What are you going to do?
Well, this dude I know is coming to visit me in Switzerland.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't seen him in, I think, 65 million years.
Sounds like a bit of a turd to me.
In person? No, so yeah, you.
Yes, I'm coming tomorrow to Neuchâtel, Switzerland.
Absolutely. Tomorrow in Neuchâtel, Switzerland, meaning the next episode we do will be
live.
Like in person.
Yes.
In the same room.
Because, fun fact, we have not been in the same room during any of these podcasts, even though it's rigged to look like it.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Fun fact, I just started a book about the history of cancer.
That sounds cheerful.
Well, it seems like a pretty thrilling, it actually is a really neat book, which so far reads like a novel, called The Emperor of All Maladies.
Okay.
And one of the things don't have the details yet, but I've learned that one of the chemicals that I'm getting at the moment is actually the reason they know that it works is because it's a derivative of mustard gas.
Nice. That sounds horrible.
I just thought I'd throw that in since nobody's mentioned Nazis at all this episode. So I just thought mustard gas would be.
There's been a severe lack of Nazi-ness in the last 2 episodes. We've been way too focused on your cancer to address Nazis in general.
Yes, I'm hoping that not too many new medical things happen before the next episode, so we can, exactly as you say, just focus on the fascism. But so other than that, I think we should probably end this episode soon so you can have time to go make your bags.
Make my bags, yeah, from scratch.
Pack your bags. Pack your bags, I guess.
I have this little China shop in here with like 800 little children. And I'm like, make me a bag. I'm going traveling tomorrow.
And you use them once and then throw them out?
The Chinese children? Yes.
So you mean just like the rest of capitalism?
Yes. Are you saying Chinese children are reusable? Nobody told me. I thought it was like one of those cameras you use once and then you throw away, like the old Kodak.
Do they still make those?
I think so. Yeah. It's probably not as common, but you can probably get it like a souvenir tourist shop.
Anyway, I think we're nearing the end of this episode.
We are. It was not funny at all.
It was not the funniest episode in the world.
And just FYI, people, it sounds like Joey is repeating himself because he keeps talking about drains and juice and liquid, but these are the mundane facts of having illogical disease.
That's it. And if you want to make sure to keep up with my illogical disease, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it.
Do you still have your WhatsApp group, by the way?
I do. I have my WhatsApp group. I have like 90 people in it now.
All right.
I guess I've added a few more, and I still talk to them, and they were a nice help when I'm in the hospital also, because I'd send every couple of days a sort of little vignette, little story of what was up, and I'd get lots of nice answers that would cheer me up and were good for a laugh. So yeah, cool. I still recommend that to anybody who's going through this, is make a group with 5, 10, 50 people in it, share stuff with them. It avoids having to keep answering the same questions. It makes it easier for your friends who don't have to sort of ask questions that they don't dare ask. Mm-hmm. And yeah, everybody stays updated and everybody keeps in touch. So I've found that a good help.
I will meet a few of these people in the coming days. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, I liked that you were telling me you were looking forward to, 'cause I said everybody here was looking forward to meeting you. And you said you were looking forward to letting them down when they realize who you really are.
Yes. I am very good at disappointing people. That's what I do.
On that note, bye.